Okay, it's 3:30 in the morning and I can't sleep. I'm not putting on makeup. Let's talk about fear of death. I've spent all year committing to creating content, and very early on I came headfirst into people's fear of death. And I thought that the way to address it was not to talk about all of the other things, all of the other services that I provide as far as caregiving and aging and resources that I know that are available, and to wait for the death stuff. I don't want to do that anymore. I know people are afraid of death. I know it. And I also know that the only way to tackle a fear is to face it head on, eye to eye, mano a mano. What do you want from me? Fear. What do you want from me? I'm here. That's the only way to kick fear in the face. So let's talk about the fear of death and how to overcome it, because I know some ways. Hello again, I'm Ebony, I'm your Sunset Doula, and today we're talking about the fear of death. Fear of death is common, it's normal, it's understandable. I think ultimately when we break the fear all the way down, because it creeps up and manifests in different ways for different people, but in my conversations with people, getting down to the root cause, it's unknown. It's the fact that none of us know for sure what happens when we die. And that's an incredibly scary thing to think about. The fear may be stemming from some actual event or experience. It could be due to some trauma around death. It may be coming from a belief system that was instilled in you when you were quite young. Think back to your childhood. What do you remember about death? Did your family lose anyone that was close to you or of significance in any type of way? What was that experience like? What were the adults doing and saying? How did your family cope with the death? How did they grieve? How did they set upon planning for the burial or whatever was to happen next? And do you believe in life after death? These are specific questions you can start asking to get to the root cause of where your fear is coming from, so that you can begin to process it. These things shape our perspectives. They shape the lens with which we look at life, because contrary to popular opinion, in our society at least, life and death are two heads of the same coin. They are a complete life cycle. There is no life without death. There is no death without life. It is a package deal, y'all. So they shape not only how we think of death, but also how we experience life, how we face our fears in life, how we make choices, and the choices that we make, they're all seen through this lens that is our perspective of life and death. On the other side of fear is freedom. So we are going to talk about some actionable ways that we can kick this fear in the face. Number one, talk to people who are terminally ill. 90% of the people who are experiencing a terminal illness or facing their own mortality really want to talk. And they really want to talk to someone that they don't know a lot of times, because they can say how they really feel without offending or scaring or causing some emotional occurrence to happen in the person that they're talking to, as if it were a friend or a family member. That's just normal. If I'm talking to someone in my own family even with all of my own experiences and my own perspective of death, it still causes emotions to arise in me. If we're talking about someone who I love very deeply, people who are facing their own mortality often have a unique, crystal clear clarity, a clarity in respect to their own lives. They are a wealth of knowledge, their stories, their regrets, how they feel, and if they have peace or not, and why, are golden nuggets that will give you so much when you go back and you take their lessons and look at them through the lens of your own life. It did for me. It shaped me. Talking to people who were in nursing homes and who were on hospice shaped my entire life. I started working in nursing homes when I was 16. I didn't set out to do this with the understanding that it was going to help me address my fear of death, but it did just that. Not only did it allow me to face my fear head on, but in many cases, I got to see death as not only being this tragedy that will come sweeping through people's lives, but also as a beautiful blessing at the end of a life, the end of pain, the end of suffering. And ultimately, it helped me to see that we're really just passing through this life. Number 2, seek the meaning of life. I believe that if you ask, you will receive. I believe if you intentionally set upon a journey to discover, that you will get the answers that you need. I don't know what they are. I don't know how they will show up for you, but everyone that I have seen deliberately set upon a spiritual path has ended up being fed in the way that they needed, in the language that they understood. I really believe that that will happen for you too. Seek the meaning of life. And you can do that in so many ways. For my mom, it's the Bible. And I read the Bible too. I get my scripture on a regular basis, but I enjoy other spiritual books too. Like right now, I'm reading the Tibetan book of Living and Dying, Holy Toledo Batman. This is deep and causing me to remember truths that I know within myself and to contemplate things that I haven't before. I think all good spiritual books do that. I also like reading A Course in Miracles, which I use more like a daily reflection because it's so dense and it's not something that you can really sit and flip through the pages. Go out there and seek, and the book that you need will come to you. I guarantee it. My favorite tool to use is meditation. Meditation is part of my spiritual practice. I meditate every day, sometimes multiple times a day. But first thing in the morning, for sure, as soon as I wake up, 10 to 20 minutes. And then sometimes I'll put on some meditation music while I'm in the shower and just kind of soak some more of that good energy in before I rush out and start my day. There are so many wonderful teachers on YouTube that can explain meditation better than I can. I've tried to tell people what meditation is, and I've been doing it my entire life. I grew up in a Unity church back home, and I still am not very good at explaining what it is. I think of it as listening. So when I'm praying, I'm speaking to my God, my higher power, source, my ancestors, whatever you want to call it. And when I'm meditating, I'm listening. I'm listening for that still voice within. I'm letting go of all of the external factors. I'm letting go of Everything that I am experiencing in this reality, any tension or pain that I'm feeling in my body, I'm letting all of that go and getting really still. And when I get really still, I remember that everything else is part of my human experience, but there's this still, quiet voice within me that is not, that is older than my human existence and will continue on after the fact. That is my experience. I'm open to hearing what your experience is with meditation and how it helps you in your life. If you're not ready for the God stuff, if you and God are beefing at the moment, which is a real life thing, if you don't want anything to do with religion or spirituality, Oprah says, what is this here to teach me? And it's such a powerful question that I hear her saying it over and over. And now when I can feel myself spiraling or just gnawing on something that I really need to let go of, I hear Oprah say that. When I remember that question, it opens up space for me to begin to let go of it, to look at it objectively, so that I can get the lesson and move the heck on. So if you want to stay far away from the religion and the God stuff, just start there. What is this fear here to teach you? Why is it here? If it's in your experience, it has a reason and a purpose. And 3, let go of what you cannot control. And we cannot control death. We can barely control life. Let's be real. We have to treat death like we do life. We have to make a plan and cross our fingers and hope that the chips fall in our favor. Planning is another actionable step that we can do to reduce the fear of death. I mean, think about it. When you're prepared for anything, it eliminates some of the fear around it. When you study for a test and you go in knowing that you're prepared, you feel differently. It's the same thing with death. A lot of people will just deny until they're in a situation where they have to make decisions and all of the fear comes up. Then other people walk through life like, oh, I'm not phased, it's just a part of life, la la la. But they never take the time to plan. They never take the time to ask themselves the really hard questions, to sit, to think, to process their own fear. So the same thing happens. They la 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 through life until death hits them in the face, and then all of their fears come up. The only way to overcome a fear of death is to face it. Make a plan. Make a plan. The 3 most important documents every adult, meaning if you're 18, 19, or older, you need these documents on board automatically. It needs to be something that we do from now on. Number 1, you need a last will and testament, or a trust if you got a lot of stuff, money. Number 2, you need a medical power of attorney. Everyone needs one. If you end up in a hospital, unable to speak for yourself, you need to have designated the person that you want to speak for you. Just because you're the oldest child doesn't mean that you're the one that should be speaking for your parents. It doesn't, especially if you're an addict, emotionally unstable. You know, I mean, there could be a whole bunch of reasons, just wildly irresponsible. Just a few reasons. And that order of birth should have nothing to do with it. You need to name the person that you want making decisions on your behalf if you can't for yourself. And number 3, you need a living will. You need a living will or an advance directive to outline what you want done with your body and your belongings in the event that something's happened, but you're still alive. You haven't died, but you're incapacitated and can't speak for yourself. What medical interventions do you want? What don't you want? All of those things will be outlined in the living will and advance directive. If you have a little money to speak of, assets, stocks, businesses, property. Get an attorney, get an estate planner, don't play with yourself. Consider a trust in lieu of a last will and testament, and you need to designate a financial power of attorney as well. These are 3 actionable things that you can do to help you process your fear of death, so it doesn't come raging up in the moment where you're faced with your own mortality or that of someone that you love. Because let's face it, like, we're humans, and dying is literally the only thing that we all do. So at some point in time, you're either going to have to face your mortality or someone else's. We should all be prepared and better equipped at dealing with death. Not doing so it's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of like an ostrich burying their head in the sand. It's not going to help. It doesn't help anybody. It just leaves us all really unprepared for tragedy. And I don't want you to be like that. I want you to be prepared. So I'm going to keep making content like this. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. I put out some content for caregivers. I put out some content for aging. And I will do some more of that, but I really want the focus to be about death and therefore about life. What is the meaning of life? And how can we prepare for death? How can we knock through some of these fear barriers? I'm going to link a video that I did showing how easy it is to get these 3 basic documents together quick, fast, and in a hurry in just a few hours of my time. And I'll link that now. So go check that out. I'll see you there. Until next time, peace.